Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Shinramram Chibo, and we're back here today with yet another video. I know the excitement, it's okay, you can calm down. Okay, so today we're looking at extensions. Now, what is an extension? A web browser extension, this is off the top of my head, of course, is a small software module for customizing a web browser. Browsers typically allow a variety of extensions, including user interface modification, ad blocking, and cookie management. Interesting. Okay, so we're not going to be doing any of that except for maybe the ad blocking stuff, but I'm going to show you the wonderful extensions that I use on a daily basis to make my life just a little bit easier as a student. And these are mostly geared towards productivity and actually getting stuff done. So in order to get right into this, let's waste no time, am I right? Okay, so we're gonna go to waste no time. That's the very first one we'll touch on. And waste no time is geared towards blocking sites. Now, there are a whole lot of site blockers. Why do I choose this as opposed to all the rest? Well, it's just the best. I don't really have much to add. The design seems a little bit outdated, but that's okay. It's just because it's an OG. And as such, it has a whole lot of features that are completely free. A lot of other similar extensions will start charging you. They're freemium. They give you a little bit of the cake, but not the whole cake. This is the whole cake. So you can do instant lockdown. So if you have like an assignment due at 12 and it is 11:13 p.m., you can block yourself for like an hour from the whole internet or from basically anything you need to get blocked from, and you have no going back. I've used this once or twice, just to be completely honest, because sometimes you just need that in order to really focus on what you got to do. But more typically, I'm just using the block list and the time allowed feature. So during work, I really don't want to be wasting time. So I have this to waste no time. I mean, it all just makes sense. You can specify how much time you want for different intervals. This is something that a lot of similar extensions will charge for, but it's built in, it's completely free, and it's really great for me. One thing I really love about this is since I try not to use too much self-control, is how I should frame that. You can have passwords that you have to put in, randomly generated strings basically. And if you get even one letter wrong, you can't copy and paste anything. So this is pretty strict and it's pretty great as such. We have 14 others to get through, so I'll leave that at that. But check that out if you're interested. Next up, we have, what's the name of this one? Checker Plus for Google Calendar. Now, I've recently hopped on the Google Calendar game. It's an interesting game to play. One of my qualms with Google Calendar is that it doesn't really have a great notification system. On mobile, it's a little bit better, but it's still not perfect. I basically want it to be shouted at because I really don't like missing things. It's really rude and kind of whack. And if it's in my calendar, but I still didn't get a notification for it, that's like, what's the point of having a calendar, right? So this kind of boosts the calendar. That's why it's called Checker Plus, am I right? To a whole new level. So it sends you really great notifications. I'll show you an example. You can just click here. Whew. And there's a little sound that plays. It kind of scares you. And it pops up what you have to do in like 5 minutes or 30 minutes, however you want it set up. And there's a whole lot of customizability. You can change the color of everything. And also, you can get the pro version, which for once I did, even though I usually recommend against it. But I paid like $1, so it's fine. And do a whole lot more. So this is a really great extension that I really value because I can see everything without having to open up a calendar, and I can also add tasks right from here, like from any site I'm on. It's pretty great. Okay, the third one is really niche, so I'll talk about it real quick. It's Waterloo Works Azure. If you are in Waterloo and you've been on Waterloo Works, you know the pain and the suffering of the program. This makes things a whole lot better. So it really speeds up the job searching process. You can look into it if you would like to, but I'm just going to put that out there. It also has a dark mode, so for those of you who are into that kind of stuff. Next up is Tide. Now this is for more people. So I talked a little bit in my last video about the Pomodoro technique. where you do like 30 minutes of work and then 5 minute break. It's usually 25-5, but you can kind of vary it up to your own desire. And over here, you can do such pretty easily. So let's say I want to work for 60 minutes. I hit the focus button. There's like a calming ocean playing in the background. I can change this to whatever sound I want. And then when I'm done, you can get little ticks, how many grinds you've done in a day. And also, it kind of takes some of this thunder and has an immersive mode where you can block sites you don't want to visit. And I use this whitelist more than I use the complete block feature on Waste No Time. So the whitelist means that I can only visit these sites during those like 25 minutes of work periods. And this is really helpful because if I go on anywhere else, I literally just can't. Like, it just doesn't allow me. And it also has some statistics on, sites you visited and all that fun stuff. So this one's pretty great too. I definitely recommend it. This is my to-do app, also pretty sweet. And some things are overdue. Let's not look at that. And next up is Read Aloud. I really like Read Aloud because sometimes I'm just not in the mood to, read like a 500-word article that I have to read to get through a paper or something. But listening to it, that's just so much easier. I guess that's the whole appeal of like audiobooks and stuff like that. Sometimes the barrier to entry is just too high for a book, for reading it. I mean, it might not seem so to someone who's like, just really into reading, but especially if it's something you're not really into, like if you have a long paper that you need to read for writing up an assignment or something, this really helps. And whatever can reduce the barrier to entry, I find, for any of these assignments is a very welcome addition. So let's say I have to get through this Wikipedia article on rosin, for both violins and for solder equipment, of course. I could just hit them with a Control A, right click, and start reading aloud. It's very loud right now because my headphone volume is all the way up, but it's really great. And I think it's a great way to start, to get into something, because I talked about, frictionless. It's got to be frictionless. Your transition between not working and working, because you want yourself to get stuff done. But the harder it is to get stuff done, the less of a chance you're going to want to get stuff done. So this really just reduces that barrier to entry. It makes it easy because you just click one button and all of a sudden the article is being read to you like a toddler getting read to sleep. It's pretty sweet. Next up, we have video speed controller. Now, this is a contentious topic for many. However, I personally like to listen to my videos faster than they were often initially intended to be listened to. Now, this is specifically important for people who have classes and lectures and things of the sort where the videos are incredibly slow. It's like a prof that, it's their first time using the technology. You can't really blame them, but they're trying their best. But maybe it's painfully slow. And if you've used YouTube or a service similar to that, sometimes they have speed up features. Maybe 2 times is the maximum, but that's not enough. Sometimes it's not enough. Trust me. Now this pretty much adds another layer onto that. So let's say I wanted to get through this video, this 38-second video. This is not the typical video you'd use this for, but you could watch it a whole lot faster, up to 16 times for whichever speedy individuals there are. But usually like 2.5 times or something is good. And then you can basically just get through it a lot faster. And it works on all HTML5 video, which is sick because, if you have like a school-specific platform, it's probably going to work there too. So that's an extension I'm really, really keen on sharing with others because, it really helps with my daily life. Another thing, which I use a lot during school time, is YouTube Rabbit Hole. So let's say I go back to YouTube and I reload the page. You may notice there's a gigantic rabbit to my right-hand side. Now this is a sick rabbit because it prevents me from seeing the thumbnails for the other videos that might be there. And now with a simple brain like mine, you see interesting video, you might want to click. That's okay. This prevents you from seeing the video in the first place. Why have to use self-control when you can just prevent the use from self-control in the first place? It's kind of like that. They have like that experiment at Stanford or something with like those marshmallows you put on the table in front of the kids. The kids that didn't eat the marshmallows, most of the time they like covered their eyes, or they like blocked their ears, or they started moving in their chair. Basically anything to prevent you from having to exert self-control. Because if you're blocking your eyes and you literally just can't see it, then you're just not going to want to eat the marshmallow. And the same way, if you use this extension and you can't see the comments and you can't see the other videos, then there's nothing to get distracted by. You can just focus on whatever beautiful video you need to watch. So this one is a definite recommendation for me. Next up, we have sponsor block. Now, another contentious one. I don't use this one as much. I only got it most recently. As you can see, there's only 4 minutes. Okay. However, if you find a YouTuber promoting things off-putting, or it's wasting your time, or whatever, this basically skips the sponsored segments within videos themselves. Now you have ad block for more general cases, like maybe the pre-roll ads in a video or the mid ads, but this actually looks at the sponsors during the YouTuber's actual videos. Now it does this by crowdsourcing different people's suggested times. So it basically gets data from a bunch of people who say, okay, there's an ad between 3 minutes and 4 minutes, and it cuts that out for you, and it skips right over it, and it highlights it so you can see. It's pretty great, and it was developed by someone here in Canada, I think, right in Ottawa, so that's pretty sick too. And yeah, that's a pretty great piece of software that I haven't really used much yet, but I thought I'd share because I thought other people might get some use from it. uBlock Origin, classic. Most people know about uBlock Origin or some of its siblings. And it's pretty great. It works well, and it may or may not be open source. Don't quote me on that, but it's great, and it can do a lot more than it lets on. So like if you want to disable JavaScript, for those of you who would need to disable JavaScript, you usually know why you would do that, but you can do it right within uBlock Origin. There's no need for other extensions. And just as a general ad block, it works. It just works, and it works on pretty much every site, and it doesn't use too much. It's like really compact. It doesn't use too many megabytes of whatever. So uBlock Origin, my favorite ad block. Now for other types of blockages, now these are the scientific blockages. So now picture this. It's 9 p.m. the night before. You have a huge essay due, like an internal assessment of sorts, maybe just per se. And you're rummaging through a whole bunch of different scientific papers and whatnot, but most of them are blocked behind some sort of paywall. And it's annoying, to say the least. You can't see the information. It's like, oh, this article might be exactly what I need in order to finish my paper or something. However, you can't access it at all. Now, this really helps. I'd say not 100% of the time, maybe like 30% of the time. And now that might seem insignificant. However, it's a lot better than just not having this program. So let me show you an example. If I go to this paper and I try to access it, it gives me like the synopsis and stuff, but a lot of the time you won't get the full article. However, with this green button over here, you just click on that and it takes you, okay, I'm not a robot, Oxford, hopefully to a site where you can view the full article. Okay, it usually works. I'm not going to cut that out because I'm trying to do this video in one take. However, most of the time that would not be the case, but that is kind of hilarious. Most of the time, it actually takes you to an alternative PDF of the article you're looking for. And it's kind of hilarious that didn't work the one time I was showing it for a video. Maybe I should have tested that beforehand, but that's not how I do things. So yeah, Unpaywall is usually a pretty great piece of software. And I definitely suggest you check it out. Maybe that display wasn't the best display of its abilities, but it's pretty great. Not even kidding. Staying on the scientific paper train, if you ever have had the blessing of needing to write a paper, you know what joy it is to write as many citations as possible. Now, this really alleviates a lot of the joys of that process. You can select whichever format you need, IEEE, whatever, for the specific site, and you can save them to projects. And by grouping it within projects, you can, organize your whole citation structure before you even export it to whatever paper you're writing. So that's incredibly helpful, and it really was useful for me for my paper writing phase, if you want to call it that. Now, for more things that are more useful during my current phase, Violent Monkey. Yes, the name is all you need to know. It's a script. It's like a scripting kind of user base hub thing for most websites on the internet. So probably Wikipedia even has some scripts. I haven't checked this previously, but it does. Sick. So there's some basic scripts you can have. You can just add a dark theme. You can improve the readability. You can find relevant videos on YouTube. Basically a whole bunch of stuff from any website you've ever went on, ever. It's just great. Scripts, basically, that you can run and make your website experience so much better. It's just a great extension, and it makes things a little bit easier on the internet, because you can just run user scripts wherever you want, change the UI of whatever website you want, and do whatever you want with Violent Monkey. There's some alternatives, but this is the best one I found so far. Now, speaking of not doing whatever you want, pause. Because sometimes what you want to do is waste time. Or maybe that's not what you want, but it's what you're doing anyways. So let's say I'm not thinking and I just type in you and I go on YouTube. Okay, thankfully we have the button here right now. This is what happens when you have a lot of extensions all bundled together. However, this is usually what would occur, and I'm distracted already. But if I had pause enabled, when I typed in YouTube, I would first be made to pause. And I would have to breathe for a couple of seconds, and actually decide whether this is what I want to be doing with my time. Because I find that when you have a little bit of thinking time, there's less of an immediate knee-jerk reaction to just click on a website or go on something, right off the bat. You open your computer, you're typing YOU. All of a sudden, you've wasted 2 hours into watching something you didn't want to watch. And then you can continue after you've thought a little bit, but first comes the thinking. And in the similar vein is Reflect. And I like Reflect a fair bit more than Pause because of a specific feature. Now, what is this feature, you might ask? First, let's disable Pause. This feature is the bubbles. Now, the bubbles are sick. I'm kidding. The feature is this. Basically, you can specify what you're actually trying to do. So the thing about Pause, and the reason why I like Reflect better, is because when you wait 30 seconds, you can just go on the site you want to go on. You're not guaranteed to have actually thought of anything in those 30 seconds. Maybe you just got up and walked around and came back to go on YouTube. And that is good sometimes, but if you need an additional layer of prevention to prevent yourself from going on these websites, I find that this helps a lot. So you need to specify what you want to do. And let's say I say, watch some sick YouTube vids, and hit enter. It's going to think for a second. It's going to do some crunching, and it's going to tell me, nah, bro, that's whack. You got to think of something better. So that's, a little bit of deterrent. Sometimes it can be a bit annoying because maybe you have some actual thing to do. But anyways, it's really helpful to prevent you from going on sites without thinking. And it helps you remember to think and think to remember. And with that, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. I hope you've gotten something that you might, use in your own life. And if you have any extensions of your own you'd like to share, the comments are there. Drop a comment, share with others, and have a great day. Peace, peace.